Well, hello, Kenzie. How are you? Thank you for being here. Please forgive me as I adjust my cameras. Hey, Miss J. Say, and it's Saya. Hi, it's Saya. Hello, James Johnson. How are you doing? Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Excuse me. Thank you so much for being here. Let's see if I can. Hey, Joella, how are you doing? Please forgive me. Give me just a minute while I put my glasses on. Hey, Shirley. Hi, Aurora. How are you? Good evening to you. Thank you for being here. Hey, Claretha. How are you doing? I know as soon as I said that, you started laughing. Hey there, Trina. How are you doing? Thank you so much. Hey, Jules. How are you too? How you doing? Long time no see you too. Hi, Danielle Nettles. How are you doing? Thank you for being here. All right, Dallas in the house. All right. I know you did because I know you giggle. I know you. You're sitting there grinning. Hello, everybody. Let's hope that I don't knock anything down. Give me just a second. Let me put my little, there we go. How is everyone doing? Excuse me. How is everyone doing? Good evening, everybody. We're just waiting for the moderators to come in. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Corinne. How is everyone doing this evening? Thank you for being here. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you all for being here. Just waiting for, hey, Ernestine and Solomon. Just waiting for the moderators to come in, and then I'll be focused. Greetings to you all. Greetings to everyone. Thank you for being here. Greetings, greetings. We're just waiting for the moderators to come, and when the moderators come in, we'll go ahead and, get started. Thank you guys so much for joining me this evening. I'm going to be quick, y'all. I'm going to be quick tonight. I know as soon as I start talking, though, you guys pull me on into the conversation. How's everybody's week been going? How has everybody's week been going? Thank you all for coming in. Thank you so much. How are you all doing this evening? They coming on in. Come on in here. Is that oh, that's Cluster Be Free. Hey there. There goes Danielle. Hey Danielle. How are you doing? I think Just Be Real said that she might be coming in, but you're here, so I'm glad you're here. I got something going on with the internet over here, so please forgive me. It's pausing, so it might pause in between there. Thank you guys so much for being here. Oh, I love you too, Miss Karen. I love you back. I got some internet issues going on, so it keeps going in and out. So over here, I apologize, Facebook. Let me see if I can take it off of the internet on here. Let me see if this works better. Oops. Let's see if coming off the internet works a little better. Let's see, I got to turn my light back on. Hopefully it works a little better. Hey there, Dr. Hooper, how are you? Oh, thank you. I tell you, my youngest daughter is a little comedian. She told me not to wear this color again. She told me I look like the Riddler off of Batman. My oldest daughter had to explain to her the Riddler wears black and green, has question marks. And she said that our mother has blue and yellow, and it is a question mark. I like it. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, Dr. Hooper. I know it's your football night, but thank you so much for half watching and half watching me. Thank you so much for being here. Yes, she did, Miss Clara. Yes, she did. She told me I look like the Riddler. Thank y'all so much for being here. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, let's get started then. Let's go ahead and get started. I know Just Be Real will be in a little while, but I got Danielle. And Danielle, do you have the ability to? No, I didn't put you on Facebook. Is buffering? Oh, okay. So I might have some connection issues over on Facebook just a little bit. And I should have added you over here, Danielle, but I didn't think to add you over there. So, well, come on, y'all, let's get started. This is a pretty great topic, and please forgive the noise in the background. I got my air freshener spraying. I didn't know it was that, you don't know it's that loud until it's quiet in the room. So if you hear it, that's my air freshener on the wall. Thank you, Miss Karen. I'm gonna make sure I tell y'all, my social media family, I'm gonna tell y'all niece that y'all like the outfit. And she gonna say, whatever. Tell them people stop lying to you. Well, all right. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about. First of all, for those of you that are joining me for the very first time, my name is Dr. Carmen Bryant. Thank you. If this is your first time being on one of my lives, I am a licensed mental health professional here in the state of Washington. I have a license pending in the state of Texas. And so those of you that are in Texas, as soon as they bring the license on board, I'll be able to contract with insurance companies there, and I'll be able to I don't know if I can make you moderator while we're live. I think I have to do that when we're offline. Miss Karen. Yeah. So I think I have to do it. I have to do it like when I'm offline. So hey, Miss Valerie, how are you? But anyway, so those of you that are coming in for the first time, I am a licensed mental health counselor here in the state of Washington, pending my license in Texas. So those of you that are in Texas, in the great big old giant country of Texas, it'd be just a little while, and I'll be able to contract with your insurance companies there. And those of you that would like to pay cash, of course, I'll be open for services as soon as they give me my license. So we're just pending my license. I am also a coach trainer. And those of you know that I'm pending opening up my coaching institute. You guys have been waiting for it for probably a year. And so I am simultaneously working on opening up so that I can provide you with the very first module for the coaching. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide you with a free webinar to talk to you about the Coaching Institute, and if this is something that you want to do. And nowadays, a lot of you guys are gifted, you're talented, and you have to ask yourself the question, I haven't not ask yourself the question, but tell yourself, because you have an answer to a problem. You are an answer to a problem, and we can put that onto paper, and you can train, and you can make that a business, a coaching business, whatever it is, and whatever field that you work in. Those of you know that there's only two coaching categories, but there are thousands of niches that people actually develop, and a lot of you are gifted and talented. That's why I'm going to invite you to my free webinar. We can talk about that, and then you can see whether or not you are interested in my training when I present to you what I'll be training you on. And also, I am a professional speaker. I do speak and I do travel when I speak. And those of you that know me, I am a narcissist recovery specialist. I do this in my private practice. I also do this when I create videos. And in that, I am studying under Dr. Sandra Brown for certification with the Institute of Relational Harm Reduction. And her focus is pathological love relationships, helping you to change the vocabulary. Many of you have gone to court, can't go to court and call somebody a narcissist. You know that, right? Because they're going to be looking at you like, what qualifies you to be able to say that? And so there's new terminology, there's new descriptions. So to help you to see if and whether you are, not if, but whether you are in a narcissist relationship, but also to give you verbiage, because a lot of times you've been through things in these relationships, I call them situationships, and you don't know that you actually were married to or with a narcissist. And in today's society, you know, narcissism, narcissistic personality disorder is on the high. Is that Miss or Mr. Ronnie? How are you doing? But you know, narcissism is on the rise. People are very self-centered and selfish. Some people have the traits. Not everybody has the disorder, but 9 times out of 10, you probably have ran into or been with or been around or worked with a narcissist. It's not always in your personal relationships. A lot of times in your work environment, even with your children, people you've been around that are, sometimes you can tell and sometimes you can't. You just know that something is wrong with them and they're very different. You just can't put your finger on it, but something's wrong with them and they're very different. So tonight I wanted to talk about, thank you, Danielle. Tonight I wanted to talk about the sound of trauma. You know, trauma has a sound. Most of you guys are like, that's interesting. What do you mean by that? Trauma has a frequency. Trauma has a sound. And I'm going to lay out a foundation for you. I'm going to lay some foundations out for you to get your mind thinking, because it sounds kind of weird. Hey, Sharima, good. I got 2 moderators on here. You know, if they disrespect, block them, kick them off the channel. And a lot of times, those of you that, you know, be careful with the comments that you make. My moderators don't play, nor do I. If you're disrespectful, you know, you can put as many messages as you want to. Once they block you, you're the only one that actually sees your message. We don't see your messages anymore. So please be respectful when you're on here, okay? And you guys know, whenever we get into something deep and something very good, I always say the roaches come out. You turn the lights on and they hide, you know, but the roaches are going to come out. So just be prepared. If you feel disrespected, please let one of my moderators know, and they are checking the comments as they go, okay? But trauma has a frequency, trauma has a sound, and I want to lay this out for you guys. Okay, number one, let me say this. Those of you that have been served in the military, thank you first of all for your service. Any branches of service, any branch of service. If you've served, I've served in the United States Army. I know Dr. Hooper has served in the United States Army. But those of you that have served in any type of branch of service, military services, when we come into the military, the main thing that they always teach over and over and over again is paying attention to detail. You guys remember that? Paying attention to detail. Everything that we do pays attention to detail. When we clean, we pay attention to detail. When we fold our beds and crease those corners, we pay attention to detail. When it comes to our uniform, those of you know, you know, and I know some of you guys remember that when in the Army, we used to have a ruler. So it was like a ruler. It was a measuring ruler. Everything that you see on a service member's uniform is measured. A lot of times we get into the mirror, but there is a manual. And the Army is AR 670-1. I think it's still the same, but AR 670-1, which is the wear and appearance, you know, the wear of the uniform and the appearance of how you're supposed to look, the length of your nails, your hair, you know, a lot of that has changed. I think it's still the same regulation. I'm not sure, but it's also the measurements of the things that are on the uniform. So everything, right? Go Army, go. But everything is measured by inches, millimeters, half inches, 3/4 of inch, 1/8 of inch. You know, everything is measured. So you have to pay attention to detail, because everything is detailed. Not only is it, you have to pay attention to detail. This is another thing. As we grow up into leadership, you know, number one, when you have military service members, I'll just say soldiers, you know, for the sake of conversation, because I was a soldier. But when you listen, one of the things that we have to fine tune, military service members fine tune their ears to, is the inflection and the pitch and the frequency of the leader's voice. Let me talk about, so the frequencies, the tone, the emphasis, the inflection, the pitch, the sound, right? We fine tune our ears to the sound of our leader's voice. We have to understand the inflection. We have to understand the pitch. We have to understand the tone. We have to know whether you're having a regular conversation with us, whether you're having a 911 situation, if you're having a 911 situation, even the way that they call us on the telephone. Is this a 911 situation? Do I need to act? Is this a right now type of conversation? So we have to pay attention to pitch. We have to pay attention to sound. We have to pay attention to inflection. Even when we're standing in formation, when they give us, company, that means you're getting ready, when they say company and you are not at attention, you're getting ready to bring you to attention. And when you are at attention, you're getting ready to receive some orders, you're going to be told something to do. You probably, something's going to be told, something's going to be downloaded, something to be given. Company, attention, right? You see, face. So all that is telling you you're getting ready to do something. And those pitch and tones, now most of you may not pick up on those pitch and tones. You just hear what I'm saying. It just sounds like I'm going up and down. But a military service member understands pitch and tones. Yeah, there's a sound. So, a military service member understands when I just did that. They understand the inflections. They understand pitch. They understand tones. Something when a commander is talking, you can tell by the inflection in their voice whether this is a serious matter and needs to be addressed right now. And that's why you have to be very careful, because when you are traumatized, it's almost like the pitch or your tone is stuck on open. Okay, but we're going to get to that. It's stuck on open, right? Now, let me go through some of this communication. So you have nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is unconscious habitual behaviors peculiar to an individual. It's body language, manner, etiquette, personality, mannerism, facial expression, attitude, and temper. You ever seen people that are always angry? They don't have nothing good to say about anything. They're just always upset. And you hear them tell you, ain't no man, all men are like this. All women are like this. That right there is a sound of a wounded person. There's no reason for you to argue with them. That's the sound of a wounded person, but we're going to get into it. There's a researcher by the name, there was a researcher by the name of Albert Mehrabian. Now, may I pronounce that wrong? Please forgive me. His name is Albert Mehrabian. And and it's called the Albert Mehrabian rule. Some of you may have heard of that. It's the 7-38-55 rule. So 7%, 38%, and 55%. And it's not a universal rule. But this rule, 7% of our communication is verbal, actual words. Only 7% of our communication are verbal words, actual words. 38% is vocal, meaning tone, pitch, other vocal elements that accompany words. So 38% is the tone or the pitch or the inflection in your voice. 55% is nonverbal, meaning body language, facial expressions. Facial expressions. So only 7% of communication is verbal, actual words. Everything else is nonverbal, pitch, tone, facial expressions. So let me get to this, is micro expressions. Micro expressions are involuntary facial movements that reveal a person's true emotions. And this is universal across all cultures, all nations. Everybody has micro expressions. And a lot of times you don't think you have micro expressions, but people will pick up on micro expressions even when you're trying to hide things. Now, let me see. I'm gonna give you an example of like nonverbal communications, like or like a disrupted verbal communications, like people that struggle to find words to say something, vague language, that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. Some people, when they get into that freeze response, they lose all words, like their cognitive goes blank. There's nothing there. And they're kind of like, it looks like the deer in the headlight look, and you're upset because they're not saying anything, answer the question, but they literally, their mind just went blank and they have nothing to say. And then they may have like, they struggle to find words to explain something. And the more pressure that they're under, the less clear they become, or the less sense they make, if that makes sense. Now, I said all that to say this. Even in the animal kingdom, there are sounds that are made. Now, of course, we're not animals, but I just want you to use this for a minute. There are sounds that are made. They don't communicate verbally, but there are sounds that are made, different pitches, different noises, different sounds. Some of you have pets where you recognize certain sounds, sounds that the animal's communicating with you, right? Um, let's talk about children, babies. When babies are born, they cannot communicate. So you pick up on their cries. When it gets to a point where when they're hungry, when they're tired, when they just want to be held, when they just crying to be crying, nothing wrong with them. They're crying because they're wet. That is the communication of a baby. They're not verbal, so you pick up on that communication. So when you start talking about trauma has a sound. Now, let me explain something about trauma that has a sound. Now, I know I always go back to this, and you guys are like, why you always use that as an example? Okay. I'm going to use the male and the females, for example. Men are hunters. They like to hunt women. And when I say hunt, not all of them are, is negative in hunt, put it that way. Not all of them are predators when they hunt. They're not predators trying to hurt, not all of them. A narcissist is a predator, but the average man, ladies, they're hunters. They're lions. They're hunters. They like to hunt. You just throw yourself in front of a lion, they're like, this is not even worth the hunt. Now, for those of you, I might, this is an adult channel. I don't know if they're going to blank out what I say, but when you just throw sex at a man, a quality man, you throw sex at him and you kind of like, you can't really, a man likes to be, an adult man, a real man likes to be stimulated in his mind as well. Your body's going to wear out, eventually. But if you throw yourself in front of a man, a lot of times they don't have respect for you. You may not think they have, you may not realize they don't have any respect, but there's a level of respect that they lose for you, right? But they're hunters. And I say that because I was listening to a podcast, and I can't think of the podcast name, but I was listening to a podcast, and this young man said that before he was saved, before he accepted Jesus Christ as a personal savior, he said that he always liked to hunt women that were traumatized. He says he could smell it, he knew it, and he could hear it in their voice that they were traumatized. So that lets you know that he was able to pick up on the inflection when she said things, when she had a talk, when she communicated. Yes, Lady Renee, but he could tell when a woman was traumatized. He said, and he gravitated toward that. His thing was he ran behind wounded women. He said they were chaotic on the inside, and they were, he said, but yet, he said, I wasn't healed yet. He says, I was not healed yet. He says, so I ran after traumatized women. And when I ran after traumatized women, he says, they were chaotic. They were full of chaos. They were chaotic. He says, and I lived a chaotic life with them. So that lets you know that trauma is chaotic. Trauma is loud. For those of you that have been traumatized, you know that you live your life. When we talk about PTSD, thank you, girl. They live, when you have been traumatized, you live your life with either post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, or complex PTSD. Remember, complex PTSD starts in childhood. There's trauma that happened in childhood, so it starts in childhood. That's complex PTSD because it's trauma on top of trauma. And PTSD, normally something has happened and you're still reliving it. Now think about it. You are living with echoes in your head. Think about this for a minute. Those of you that have been in a traumatic relationship or situationship, or been with an abusive individual, whether they were verbally abusive, whether they were physically and verbally abusive, whether anybody that was in a physically abusive relationship, you were in a verbally abusive relationship because they verbally abused you before they got to the physical abuse. So either or, but not all physically abused. Some narcissists understand that I can traumatize you by the things that I say, if I can emotionally manipulate you and abuse you. So some of them may have started off, verbally, and then physically, then realized verbally was more powerful for you. And for some people is the physical, but the thing about it is that Anybody that has been traumatized, you're living with echoes. And sometimes what happens is you can't stop your mind from overworking, overworking, overworking. I know there's something going on with my connection, so I apologize. But your mind is overworking, and the echoes of the trauma keeps going over and over and over. So you're hearing the conversations, and you beat yourself up because I should have said this, I should have done this, I should have done this. So you have a lot of voices in your head, and I don't mean voices meaning that you're schizophrenic. I mean you have the trauma echoing in your head. I remember talking to an individual, and she said that the narcissist abused her son, and she remembered her son. This is trigger warning, y'all. So if if you guys don't like to hear about trauma, please, just mute it for just a minute, or just walk away from the camera for just a minute. But just trigger warning. I'm having some connection issues on Facebook. Give me just a minute. Let me wait for it to turn back on, okay? Give me just a minute. Please forgive me, y'all. I didn't mean to pause. I know you guys are waiting for what I was getting ready to say, but Facebook, for some reason, audio has been disrupted. Hey, Cluster B, can you go over there and tell them if they're having connection issues, because it keeps I'm having some connection issues with my internet, but tell them they can come over to Instagram, or they can come over to YouTube. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. But but trigger warning. Okay, so I'm going to say this trigger warning. Please know this trigger warning. I know that over on Facebook, I know that there's something going on with the internet, so it's going in and out, in and out. So if you want to come over to Instagram, this is Facebook. Facebook, if you want to come over to Instagram or YouTube, I'm over on YouTube, and I'm also over on Instagram. So if it keeps coming in and out, please just come on over there. And if you just want to wait, soon as it uploads, I usually upload the video back on Facebook anyway, where it's not interrupted. But listen, so she was saying that she remembers hearing the screams of her son. And she said for years and years, she was haunted by those screams. Every time she saw something, every time she talked about it, those screams echoed in her ear. And when those screams echoed in her ear, it made her angrier and angrier, and it made her hate her husband. It made her hate the abuser, to a point where she struggled with forgiveness, because she kept on hearing these echoes. It was the echoes over and over again, the echoes in her ear. And so trauma is loud. A lot of you are listening, to the trauma that you've experienced. You hear your own screams, you hear your own cries, you hear yourself, you go back and you hear yourself begging and pleading, you hear yourself, so it's loud, it's chaotic, it's confusing. And so when you are trying to, that's why when you get out of a situationship, you don't just jump into another relationship with anybody, because you are still living with the residue and the echoes and the loudness from the last situationship. And it's best for you to, it's like purge. It's best for you to detox as long as you possibly can, so that you can be, so you can be the best version of yourself for the next person. They deserve it, and you deserve it. But trauma is very loud. Trauma is so loud. Check this out. These are my favorite movies. So y'all know that I'm a sci-fi junkie. I love sci-fi. You guys remember the movie The Predator? And I said this before. I actually did some videos breaking down The Predator and breaking down narcissist behavior. I may do that again, but I do have a video where I was breaking down narcissism, and I was breaking down The Predator, the movie Predator. And The Predator, if you watch The Predator, he preyed on people, but he looked for the people that were fighters. He looked for the people that were fighters. And what he would do was he would watch them. He would watch their nonverbal communication. He would mimic their verbal communication. He would watch to see, those people that didn't fight are not the ones that didn't fight are not the ones that he pursued. He pursued the ones that would try to fight, And it was in those the helmet that he was wearing. Everybody was like in red, the red. You have to understand when you're dealing. It's sad to say that a person that has NPD is a predator, and they watch people, and they can pick up on the inflections of your voice. People can pick up when a person is traumatized by the inflection in your voice, how you respond. And listen now, I know some of you may not want to hear this, and it sounds like I'm picking on you. I know, because I was there at one point in time. But ladies, when you expose yourself and you become seductive and you try to seduce a man, um, for some women, they say, I've never been traumatized. When you try to seduce, it gives a different perspective of you. For some people, they look at you as being weak. When you're seductive, they look at you as being weak because you're seducing a man to try to get them to come to you. Or when a man tries to seduce a woman, that, for some people, that's a weakness, and there's something wrong. For some people, we know that they have been violated in their youth. It shows that, and please forgive me, I know some of you are going to be angry when I say this, but it shows that you don't know how to use your mind. And some people, when they're looking for value, when they're looking for relationships, long-term relationships, believe it or not, ladies, a man likes to be stimulated in his mind too. You can have a beautiful body, you can be a beautiful person, but can you stimulate that man's mind? Just like it's only fair that he's able to stimulate your mind. Because with a woman, if you stimulate her mind, then you have the body. And so a narcissist knows that once I can stimulate your mind, I can get your whole body to turn with your mind. And with a man, they are attracted by what they see. At the same time, though, a man of value looks for a woman that can stimulate their mind. Do we have anything of interest? Do we have anything in common? Can you build an empire with me? If I give you a seed, can you grow that seed? Meaning not just babies, but if I grow a seed and I give you a vision, are you able to help put legs on this vision? What part, nowadays, I told you guys before, nowadays, when they say, what do you bring to the table? And women like, I am the table. No, sister, the brothers really mean like, what do you bring to the table? If I buy a house, are you able to decorate the house? Are you able to make it into a home? Can you put the fragrances and the colors in there that when we come home, that is our safe haven? That's our safe haven. That's a place of, our sanctuary, our safe place. If I bring you groceries at home, can you create a meal? If I give you a seed, you can produce a child. We can do that because we're made to do that. But when you are traumatized, then a lot of times what happens is you come out of one situation with all this debris and like trash on the inside of you, and you're expecting to meet somebody of value, but it's like walking into a hoarder's house. How do you expect an individual to connect with you, male and female alike, when you are walking around and you are an emotional hoarder? You haven't even cleaned yourself out to be able to connect with another person, because everything that you do is trauma based. And when I say trauma based, is how you act, your micro expressions, your demeanor, your attitude. You're triggered real quick and you ain't finna talk to me any kind of way. We talked about that before. You can't disrespect a man, and you definitely don't want to disrespect a woman, but that trauma has a sound. It has a frequency. Believe it or not, it actually has a stench. And I don't mean a stench meaning that you can smell. Don't think that because you were traumatized, you walk around here funky. Don't take this and get off the video and say, Dr. Bryant said that trauma stinks, and so I must stink, and people that are traumatized, they stink. That's not what I'm saying. Check this out. Even in the animal kingdom, animals can pick up pheromones. Is it pheromone? Yeah, pheromones. They can pick up when a female is in heat. They can pick up, there are some animals that can pick up when you're pregnant. There are some animals that can pick up, like, for example, dogs that are trained to be a medical assistant, the animals that are medical alert dogs. They can pick up when somebody's blood sugar has dropped. They can pick up when somebody's getting ready to have a seizure. So if they're that sensitive, don't think for a minute, men can pick up pheromones. It's just that they don't smell it, not like that. But there is a smell, a hormone. They can't describe the smell to you. You can't describe it, but pheromones, they can pick up on the pheromones. Literally, they can pick up when a female is in heat, and ladies, that's why I say trauma also has a smell to it. And I don't mean a smell that, what do you think the narcissist is doing? I know it sounds crazy. And that's why I tell you guys, go listen to my mother's channel. She's a pastor. She can, you ask questions like this, she will give you a biblical explanation, a spiritual explanation, about some of the same things that I'm talking about. But there is a smell. There is a smell in the non-physical, just like with the pheromones, put it that way. And a narcissist can pick up. They're very, very attention to detail. You think that they're dumb. You think that they're not paying attention. You think that they don't pick up on anything, but they're so fine-tuned with you. They pick up on your nonverbal communication. They pick up on the frequency, the pitch, the tone of your voice, how you respond to them or how you react to them. They pick up on those micro expressions. That's what pulls them into you. That's how they gravitate towards you, because a lot of them will gravitate toward pain. And a woman that is in pain or a man that is in pain, there are certain attributes that you have that sometimes you don't even pick up yourself. A person that talks a lot about their pain, about their abuse, and they talk, and tell everybody all their business, that is a person that a narcissist will gravitate to. Because what is happening is that you're releasing the script to your movie, and that narcissist is determining what role in the movie am I going to audition for, and what role am I going to play, so that I can pull you in to make you think that I am this person that you don't, this person that you dream of. I'm going to fit this role and I'm going to play this character. There's some of the greatest actors, they're going to play this role. And the thing is that the more you talk, you don't realize that you are releasing your kryptonite. You're releasing your kryptonite. Your conversation about the damage that has been done and the stuff that they have done to you should be in a therapeutic setting. That is not meant for everybody to hear, because what you're doing is just like with the predator, they're listening to you. They're listening to what part of the story hurts you the most. They're listening for the pitch. They're listening to the frequency. They're listening to the tone. They're listening to the inflection in your voice. And you don't think they pick it up. They pick up everything. They watch your body language, because even your body language tells on you. They watch your nonverbal communication. Remember that. So like I said, trauma has a sound. Trauma has a sound. And some of the sound is even in your ear. The sound is so loud in your ear that it will skew when you have I'll give you an example. If you've been abused by your parents, misused, abused by your parents, disrespected by your parents, I'm gonna turn Facebook off, because Facebook just keeps going in and out, and I don't know why. So those of you that are on Facebook, please forgive me. I'm gonna go off of Facebook because it keeps glitching. I don't know why it keeps glitching, but I will post the video once it loads onto YouTube. I will load the video over on Facebook, okay? But I'm probably gonna, if it glitches one more time, I'm just gonna turn it off, and then I will put the video over on Facebook. So please forgive me. It glitched again. So please forgive me. So those of you that were on Facebook, I'm gonna post it over onto Facebook. Let me just turn this off. Yeah, I don't know why it's glitching. But listen, where was that? Recall. But for those of you that don't believe, see, and another thing, there was something that somebody said, and I thought was so powerful. Don't ever underestimate a mentor. Don't ever underestimate a therapist. Don't ever underestimate a coach, because You want someone that's going to be honest with you. The hardest thing is to face ourselves. And there's something that the young man said. I was listening somebody else. I think it was a bishop. I was listening to somebody else. He said, "You will never overcome what you are not willing to confront." And sometimes people think that they are. Sometimes people think that they're further along than what they really are, and they don't believe when someone calls out, that you're traumatized, that they call out that something is going on with you, that and sometimes you don't even realize how traumatized you are, and it could be years from now where certain things starts coming out, that you didn't know was still there, and you thought that you were further along than you really were. And you really need people in your court, a mentor, somebody that's not afraid of your emotions, because a lot of times you also react to people the way that the narcissist reacted to you. The things that narcissist done, a lot of times you take upon traits, and that's that residue, and you have learned to defend yourself. And so the way that you defend yourself is the way that the narcissist was doing things to you, so you do it to a good partner. Now, when you get into a marital relationship, those of you, and this is, what my mother has taught us, her daughters, and one of the things is, hey, just be real. But, one of the things you find out that when you get, and I ain't talking about a bad relationship, because all sorts of stuff comes out. All your trauma gonna come out in the bad relationship. But even when you get into a good relationship, ladies, and I'm talking to the ladies because I'm a woman, and the men, please, add something in there for the ladies, just to encourage I'm not a man, never have been a man, despite what you think. I gave birth to 3 kids, so I got a lot, like roaches on here. I got a lot of people that come through here that are what we call them whoever they're blocking, but when a man and a woman come together in a relationship, and this is what my mother has taught us as her daughters, some things, when you have healed, there are some things that are meant to come out when you are with that person you're supposed to be with. The beauty is that when you have a for some of you, I know you don't believe in God, you have your own belief system, but when God sends the right person to you, they'll be able to handle your heart, male and female alike. They'll be able to handle your heart. They'll be able to handle when those triggers come out. They'll know how to soothe you and help. They're not the ones that heal you, but certain things are not going to come out until you make a choice to be close to a partner that you want to marry, a person that is meant for you. But they'll be able to carry your heart. They'll be able to love you through it and help you through it, and show you that they are a safe person. So there are certain things that, for those of you that have healed to a certain extent, there are some traumas or some pain that is not going to come out until you meet the right person. And that person, and I say ordained, has been ordained to be able to handle your heart and to handle your pain. And you'll be able to trust again, because they will show you in their character and how they handle you that they are a safe person. And so a lot of you are thinking, like, when will I be completely healed? Some pain or some hurt or some triggers are not going to come out until you meet the right person that is ordained to be there to help you through that last part of your pain. There may be things that you have to work through. So relationships are not, there's no such thing as a perfect relationship, but there's a perfect person for you, and you're a perfect person for someone else. And you can tell, you'll be able to tell. But for some people, the addiction is relationship after relationship after is situationship after situationship after situationship after situationship. And you go in carrying all sorts of baggage. You go in, Danielle says she finally met her safe people. You right about that. And we all tell each other about each other. So, and she met her tribe. For some of you, you guys haven't met your tribe. Before you try to be in a relationship, won't you date yourself? Won't you find a tribe? Won't you join a support group? Won't you join a church or wherever else, your place of worship is, and start, intermingling. Ooh, that was loud. Excuse me. I'm a lady. But you start intermingling with people because, for those of you that go to church, you're learning relationships. You're learning relationships. Those of you that have been hurt, that's what I was getting ready to say. Those of you that have been hurt by parents, those people that were in position, leadership position, parents were in leadership position, and those parents that were in a leadership position, you know, they were in leadership position. And what happens is when you have been wounded, when you have been hurt, when you have been abused, rejected, neglected, they laid a foundation. And so it became hard for you to trust any other relationship because especially like leadership, it's hard to trust leadership even if there's an inkling of something that reminds you of the people that have hurt you. And sometimes the people that are safe are the people that are going to hurt you because that narcissist or that abusive person still used some of the foundation of leadership that the leader has to use. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Because when you meet a good leader, a lot of times leaders go through it with a person because it's a constant reminder that the person that abused them was in a position of power. Put it that way. And so for some of you that have been through mama and daddy issues, it became hard because either you became victim in your relationship, and that's male and female alike. You know that you have a good heart. You know that you're a good person. You know that, you know how to love somebody. And so even though you weren't loved properly, you weren't loved correctly, you went into the relationship and you loved the best way you knew how. You did the best thing you could to show this person that you love them. The hardest part is that person couldn't reciprocate that love back to you. You were mistreated. You were dogged out. You were talked to any kind of way. You were traumatized. And so it made you hesitant because in your mind, you think that, is there somebody out there, is there somebody out there that will love me the way that I will love them? Yes, there is. Is there somebody out there that can appreciate what I bring? The woman that you are, the man that you are. You know that you're a good woman. You know that you did the best that you could. Everybody makes mistakes, but not to the point where they traumatize people. And then you get out of a relationship and you're trying to take your good aspects that are hidden under all that hoarding mess in there, and you're trying to get into a relationship with someone and they can't really deal with you because they can't handle the chaos and the hoarding and the trauma. They want to love you, but they can't get past all that. So once again, trauma has a sound. Trauma has a sound. Trauma has a frequency. Trauma has a frequency to a point where if you don't clear yourself out after you come out of a relationship, that frequency will pull another narcissist worse than the one that you were with. Worse than the one that you were with. So you got to clear a frequency. You got to heal. How long does it take to heal? I can't answer that question because I don't know how much trauma you've been through. And each individual is different, But trauma has a frequency to a point where you will gravitate toward another abuser worse than what you had. There are people that did not heal, and because of the fact they did not heal, they gravitated toward another narcissist that was very similar to the last narcissist that they left, but they didn't know that until the mask dropped because this narcissist came in with a lot of charm. They came in as a rescuer. I'm going to rescue. I would never do you. And you told them all the business. Like my grandbaby say, you told the business, and they came in a prince in shining armor riding on a beautiful stallion. And then when the mask fell off, is like in the Wizard of Oz, when that screen fell down, the Oz about this big, little tiny man. But when that mask fell down, you realize that your knight in shining armor is a weirdo on a donkey, or riding on the back of a lemu, But you got to take the time to clear that chaos, and you got to take the time to clear out that hoarding, emotional hoarding on the inside of you. Because if not, I promise you, you're going to pull in something worse. And this young lady pulled in something just as bad, or equal to, or maybe worse than what she already has. Because this guy is destroying her finances. He's destroying her health. The other one, I think, was physically abusive. He was physically abusive, crazy, talk crazy. Now she got one that talk crazy, but he's on the intellectual side. He tearing the finances up. He's a habitual, compulsive cheater. and her body is breaking down. She's sick, you know, but if you don't clear yourself, if you don't take the time to love yourself and to heal and to enjoy your own, why would you want to be with somebody if you don't even like being with yourself? Some people say, I don't like being by myself. I don't like being with myself. I don't like spending time with myself. I need somebody with me. If you don't like spending time with yourself, why do you want that man or woman to spend time with you? You don't like you, so why would they like you? Does that make sense? Emotional hoarding. Absolutely. Emotional hoarding. And remember, you will never overcome what you are not willing to confront. And to have to confront ourselves and to be honest, sometimes you got to be honest with yourself. You want to be in a relationship, you want to be with somebody, but sometimes you have to be honest. I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I'm ready because I'm a mess and I don't want to get into a relationship with somebody and then they may be a good person and then I traumatize them. My trauma traumatizes them. Now they got secondary trauma, what we call vicarious. They got vicarious trauma dealing with me. You remember Joyce Meyer? Those of you that know that Joyce Meyer, she was traumatized from child as a little girl. She was violated by her own father, and he would sell her to police officers and just mishandled her as a young girl. She was traumatized and she wanted to get married just to get out of the house. Got with a man that abused her and abandoned her. So by the time she met her husband, Dave, she was so traumatized and it took years. God had to teach her how to handle. And she said there were times that her husband would cry, but he was willing to, he loved her so much. He was willing to work with her. He was willing to love her, even in her trauma. He was willing to, love her through that trauma. She said, but she knew there were times that he would cry. He was praying and he would cry because she said she was horrible, but he loved her that much that now they have a beautiful relationship. They've been married for years and years and years and years and years, but she's one of them. She went into a situationship and she was traumatized and she traumatized somebody else. But thank God, Dave is a praying, Mr. Dave is a praying man. But that's what I wanted to tell you guys today. And I'm reiterating that trauma has a sound. It has a frequency. It has a pitch. It has an inflection and nonverbal communication. Remember, you guys want to go look it up. It's Albert Mehrabian. It's Mehrabian. And it's Albert Mehrabian rule. And it's the 7, 38, and 55%. It's non-universal. So it's not universal. And people still argue about that. But they say 7 out of our communications, 7% is verbal, actual words. 38% is vocal, tone, pitch, other vocal elements that accompany words. You already know that said a lot. While you're talking, you can look on somebody's face and you can read their face. They don't have to say nothing. 55% is nonverbal, body language, facial expressions, how someone is turned, whether they like someone and they turn their feet and legs toward them, or if they don't like someone, they turn their body the opposite way. You can look at people's body language and you can tell a lot by their body language, whether they even like being around them. You can tell if they're afraid, they're irritated, So all that right there, you see what I mean? All that right there. Trauma has a sound. And that frequency, if you don't clear that frequency and take the time to heal, you will pull, because that narcissist is, I hate to say it, they're predators, but they like what was the movie? Clarice. They sniff for the fear. A narcissist uses fear as a weapon. And as long as they can keep you afraid to be abandoned, afraid to be rejected, afraid to be ghosted, afraid to be left alone, everything that you said, they use fear as a weapon. And fear is so strong that with fear, people maintain control over other people. I'm afraid to be alone. I'm afraid to be rejected. I'm afraid for him or her to leave me. They operate out of fear, and that's how they maintain control. Fear. But they can smell and they can hear, trauma. They can hear it. And they can hear it in your cries. They can hear it in your voice. They can hear trauma. So if y'all would just give me like 5 minutes to answer some questions. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask me some questions so we can go. Shark Tooth. I like that name, Shark Tooth. He said, worried I'll keep getting it wrong, especially looking for bare minimum companionship. First of all, never look for bare minimum relationship. You have value, and there's nothing wrong with setting your standards high. Some people set their standards high, and then after waiting for so long, they start bringing down that standard out of desperation to be with someone. Don't ever, bring your standards down, and stop looking at how people look. In our youth, listen, I'm not a young buck. I'm not a young buck. And I'm just letting you know that, in our youth, we were looking for, tall, dark, handsome, or blonde, tall, blue eyes, or red hair and short. Some of you, it don't matter. Uh, whatever you like, whatever it is you like. But one thing that you're forgetting is character. See, your gift in the Bible, it tells you your gift will make room for you, but your character will sustain you. And there are, if you look at, there were some models that they talked about before, beautiful models, character all jacked up, all jacked up. And when you find out how nasty their attitudes are, it just makes them a ugly person. Now, I'm not saying for men and women, like, men are attracted by what they see. And looks can help. I'm not saying that you have to go find you a troll, but what I'm saying is that you're looking for character. Most important thing, character. How do they value themselves? How do they talk? How do they conduct themselves? What do they do when they're angry? Do they have, and for those of you that are entrepreneurs and shakers and movers, are they shakers and movers? Or, can they stimulate your mind? Are they interesting to talk to? You can't just, sex can only go, sex is that sex. But after the sex is all gone and over with, can you stimulate his mind? Can you stimulate her mind? Do you have conversations for that man? See, most of you guys think it was just a man, the man that's looking at you to see whether or not you smart and intelligent, but, well, vice versa. You have to make him, but a man looks for the same thing. A man wants to see whether you got character. He wants to see whether you're intelligent. It's like the Eagles. The Eagles look for strength. They don't look for weaknesses. If you got a strong man, he want a strong woman. You got a strong woman, I guarantee you got a strong man. But you got to look at character. A character of a person speaks loudly of them. That it tells you some things about them. Their character. What are they like? When they tell you stories, and they tell you stories about their baby mama or baby daddies or ex-wives or ex-husbands, are they always, a narcissist always going, they done been in 500 relationships, and every relationship has gone wrong and it's been abusive, and they did this and they did me wrong and they did this. But it's funny how every relationship, all relationships, you the common denominator, and all relationships ended like that. Everybody did you like that? You don't play no role. There's nothing that you've done. I mean, because even in a narcissist relationship, you get out and be like, that person was abusive and it was a narcissist. I ain't gonna say too much about it. It is what it is. And you may say things like, I learned a lot being a young wife or a young husband. I've learned a lot, even though I'm not going to you never take responsibility of the other person's abuse. You could take, you take responsibility for the things that you learned, because even in an abusive relationship, you can learn some things about yourself, but you never take the credit for somebody's abuse on you. You never take responsibility for somebody else's. If it's a narcissist and they're abusive and they mistreat you, never take responsibility. It could have been better because I could have. No. You can't do anything to change nobody's character. You can't do anything to change anybody. And so the thing about it is that you can still learn things about yourself, how to be a better husband or a better wife in the future. I know some things now that I could have done better, but there's nothing I could have done to make them better. It's just a better me. You see what I mean? And so you still have to you look at the character of the person. Look at the character of the person. Stop always running behind a big butt and a pretty smile and good hair or big hair or little hair or bald headed or, 6-pack, 4-pack, 40-ounce keg, quit looking at, don't be so superficial. One thing listen, one thing, pay attention to when someone always talks about how good you look, how good you look, how good you look. And that's all they ever say. You look so good. Oh my gosh, your hair is so pretty. Oh my gosh, this is so pretty. After a while, you should start choking on that because that's all you ever see. You always just see my beauty that can fade. That's all you ever see. You don't see no intelligence. You don't see no great conversation. You don't see no education. You don't see anything else. All you're looking at is the super. I got a big booty. I got good hair. My mom Indian. My dad is whatever, Arabic, Italian, Black, African, whatever. All you ever see is what on the outside, my aesthetics. That's it. Ladies, gentlemen, if women do it too. But if that's all they ever talk about is your looks, your appearance, and your looks and your appearance, and that's all, that's a red flag, y'all. That's a red flag. It's okay to get a compliment. All of us like a compliment. All of us like to be told that, that you look nice or smell nice, unless you're funky, and then you get mad when somebody tell you stink, But what I'm saying is that becomes superficial. And if a person constantly do that and they know that you like that and you keep wanting them to do that, they already know that's a trauma response. They already know, okay, let me hook into this person right here because you kind of superficial. But that's absolutely, that's a red flag. That's all they ever talk about is your superficial, your aesthetics. That's it. That's all you see. That's all I'm worth is what I look like. That's it. And gentlemen, make sure you take her swimming so you can see whether that's her hair, because we're gonna take y'all swimming to see whether you got a lace front on just like us. Men be wearing lace fronts nowadays too. So y'all both go swimming so you can see what he looked like and she looked like when their hair wet. Let's see. Well, thank you, Shark Tooth. I appreciate it. You go ahead and subscribe. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. But you have value. You remember that. Don't worry about I want the bare minimum. No, you don't. You do not want the bare minimum. You have the right with your expectation to have a high standard. You have a high, because after a while, one minute you want somebody that got teeth. The next minute you don't mind if all their teeth rotten and they got one tooth. What's wrong with you? That means they're not taking care of themselves. They ain't taking care of themselves. They ain't gonna take care of you. Well, he ain't got to bathe every night. At least, at one point it was he got to bathe he got to have good hygiene. Now it's, well, if he got one good tooth and he can still chew with that one good tooth and he take a shower every Sunday before the week starts. Why are you lowering your, gentlemen, you too? I mean, she ain't got to have her hair. She ain't really got to wear a lace front as long as when she bald headed, her head is shaped right. Maybe got to make sure her head is shaped right. You lowering your standards. You lowering your standards. Just Be Real said, lies you tell, right? Lies you tell to trick yourself into lowering your standard. Don't lower your standard. Absolutely. Shark Tooth, take it. You have value. I don't know who you are, but we have value. Value attracts value. I want you to think about this for a minute. You guys start naming some name brands you like. You like Gucci, you like Louis Vuitton. What do you like? What name brands do you like? Just tell me. And don't think to yourself, I want to be superficial. It ain't all about trying to get name brands and stuff. Some of us like name brands. I mean, I like Louis Vuitton and Gucci. I love Chanel. I like Chanel and stuff like that. I like nice stuff. I even like Chanel fragrances. There's certain fragrances that I like that are pricey, and I will invest in because it's valuable. It's valuable. Like Coach. Okay. Give me some more name brands that you guys like. Coach, Giorgio Armani. Good point. Good. Tom Ford. Okay. Chanel. Come on, y'all give me some more. Chanel. What else? And I'm going to tell y'all something. Prada, okay, Prada. Give me some more name brands. I like Marc Jacobs. I like Louis Vuitton. I like Bulvari. Burberry. I like Bulvari, the Bulvari watches. I have a Bulvari watch. I love, love, love watches. I'm a watch girl. Versace, okay. But I'm a watch girl. And I have a Bulvari and I have a Movado. I love a good watch. I let my grandparents introduce me to watches. I love a nice watch. I've been wearing watches ever since I was probably like 9 years old, maybe even younger than that. I love watches. I have a beautiful Movado, and I have a Bulvari. I have a Bulvari. I invested. I paid on that thing. I paid on it and paid on it and paid on it and paid it off. So I got a Movado and I have a Bulvari. I love beautiful watches, right? So you guys named all those name brands. Now think about this for just a minute. Let me tell you something about value. When I got stationed in Korea, I used to go to Camp Casey. Those of you that have been stationed in Korea, I used to go to Camp Casey, which is further up north, and we knew like where to shop and what to shop, what we shop. So up north in Camp Casey is where a lot of the tailors were at, and a lot of those tailors made suits and shoes and heels. No. They made all my suits. So I got a lot of my suits made in Camp Casey, a lot of my suits and jackets and coats. Down in Osan, which is in the middle where we fly in at, Osan, I used to get my purses and I used to get my shoes made. So when Coach came out with boots, I had the Coach boots, and they looked at the picture, they had the material, and they made Coach boots. You wouldn't even know that my Coach boots were not from America. They were made in Korea, and they were Coach boots. I had Louis Vuitton boots. I had Gucci boots. I had Gucci coat. I had the Gucci purses. I had the Louis Vuitton. I had Versace. Everything was made there. They had the material there. We were allowed to buy it. We just weren't allowed to sell it. So I used to have all that. No one knew that it was not the real thing unless you had a trained eye to know it wasn't the real thing. Now, check this out. So that means that they were able to get the material. They just, if you knew what to look for, there's specific stitching to each one of those brands, and what you're paying for the name and the gift of them creating such a nice thing. Now you have somebody else that look at the picture and replicate it, and you could buy it for less. So you're replicating what they see. But think about it. That's material. If you touch the material, you can buy that material. And if you know how to replicate it, you can replicate that. But it's material with someone's name on it. It's a brand. So it's a brand. And they put their name on it, and they put a price on it, and they put value on it. You can go to Korea and you can negotiate the prices of the purses over there. You can get whatever purse you want to, and you can negotiate the prices. You can negotiate, the suits. You get Armani suits made over there. I used to get suits made of all sorts of brands. You can get Armani suits made over there that look like the Armani suits. And then you could tailor it the way you want it tailored. So I used to have a lot of tailored suits, and they were made after the different brands, right? But the name, you're paying for the brand and the value. If you look at the material, a lot of the material, you can get the material, you feel the material, valuable material, but they put a name on it, they put brand on it, put value on it. You go to the stores, the Versace, the Louis Vuitton, the Marc Jacobs, you go to any of them, you will not walk into those stores and you will not negotiate the price on those products, because they understand the value of that product. They understand the value. If you go right now, and one day I'm going to do it, I'm going to just go to a car lot and just have a conversation with them. You go down to a Rolls Royce car lot, or you go down where they sell Bugattis, or you go where they sell, Rolls Royces, Bugatti, Maybachs, and you go down there, right? If you go to a Rolls Royce or Bugatti, you go where Bugatti, as well as I know, you are not going to come on that car lot and tell them, how much do I need to put down in order for my payment to be $500? Once you say that, they know you don't have the money to do it. You don't have the money. They already know that you can't afford the car and you don't belong on the lot. Now, they may be nice to you, or they may ignore you, or they may laugh in your face, or, you probably get embarrassed. but they understand the value of the product. If you go on to buy a Bugatti, you're coming over there to tell them, this is the one I want. I want leather this. I want this color right here. I want the interior to be like this. I'm going to have my secretary or my accountant make a check out to you, have it delivered here. So they understand value. Why don't you understand your value? You are better than a name brand. You are a brand. So because you are a brand, there should be a value, not a price. You should have, because you're priceless, but there should be you are a brand, you have value, and you should not be treated anything less than your value. If that's the case, then you can be bought out. They can, a predator can negotiate. They can negotiate your price. It's not a matter of how much you cost. It's not a matter of whether you cost anything now. The price is whether or not, let me get it back. Let me reel it back. It's not a matter of if you have a price. It's a matter of how much you're willing to sell out for. See what I'm saying? How much you're willing to sell out for. I'll sell out to you because I'm desperate to be in a relationship with you. You are a brand. You have value. My name is Carmen. I am a brand. I have value. And I will not let anybody treat me less than. And sometimes when you have been traumatized, you will negotiate your value, not a price, your value, your value. So Shark Tooth, you have value, and remember that you have value. You are a brand, and you remember that. Now, I apologize. I did more talking. I didn't get a chance to answer any questions. I don't know if I missed any questions. Let me look. Did I miss any questions? Let me see. Let me make sure I didn't miss any questions. Did I miss any questions? Okay. Ooh, that's a nice smell. Smell good in here. All right. Well, anybody else wanted to say anything? Anybody else wanted to say anything? If anybody else want to say anything, go ahead. If you wanted to ask a question. And hey, Misha. Hey, girl. Hey there, Looney. How are you? Hi, TTVV. Well, go ahead and ask a question. Go ahead and ask a question. What you got for me? Just give me a minute. Let me see the question. And then I'll let you guys go. My Misha. Dang. Did you email me your phone number? You didn't email me your phone number. Misha, make sure you email me. I don't know if you still have my email. Email me your phone number so I can call you. Oh, you like the cup? You drinking out of? Oh yeah, from the conference. It sure is. Yep. This is a Starbucks cup from the conference. See, you guys get a lot of gifts when you come to the conference. I got a Starbucks cup from the conference. There's a lot of stuff in that in the box that we got. It sure is. This is a Starbucks cup from the conference. So any more questions? Any more questions? That's all you got for me? Somebody had a question, but they never posted the question. Yeah, my daughter tried to take it, but she had her own cup. Oh, don't worry. Don't worry, Misha. I know that, I think they do the replays on Instagram. If not, I was going to say Instacart, but you can go over to YouTube. My Facebook, it just kept on timing out. It kept on, so I was having issues with Facebook connection tonight. So my conference, I have an annual conference in July, at the end of July, the last Saturday of July every year. So next year will be my 6th annual conference, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse Conference. My mother has a conference coming up, and hers is in August. And we will be, mine is on Zoom, and hers will be in person, and we'll be in Kansas City, Missouri next year. So you don't want to miss it, because I'm telling you, it's phenomenal. I mean, there was so much said, and I'm telling you, and hers is not a narcissist conference. Hers is not mine is a narcissist recovery conference. Hers is not a narcissist recovery conference. Hers is each process leads to freedom. And I'm telling you, I was truly blessed at this conference. And like, I mean, ever since I left that conference, my feet have been, my boots been on the ground. I put my boots on the ground, and I've been running since I came back. And everything that was said to me, everything, those of you that believe in prophetic words, everything that was said is happening. And so you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss that one. But we'll be posting as of next month. Registration will be open. Yeah, send me your number, Misha. You are so welcome, Lisa. Well, is that all? Oh, my mom's channel is Your Destiny Helper. You go look on YouTube, you'll find it is Your Destiny Helper. It's Helen Sadler, Your Destiny Helper. And then that is her channel. And then you can also find her on Facebook. As a matter of fact, Danielle used to be her moderator, but she became busy with her wealthy self. And we're also on Clubhouse on Tuesday. On Tuesdays, we're on Clubhouse. Please join her on Clubhouse. And it's Your Destiny Helper House. But you get to hear a lot of the people that were coming in and helping to moderate for me are actually on her platform. A lot of us are speakers on Clubhouse. Please go find Clubhouse, and it's Your Destiny Helper House. And join us on Tuesday. You actually get to hear all of us talking on there about specific topics. Yeah. So if that's it for this evening, I'm going to let everybody go. And thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all of you guys. I apologize about Facebook, but I will, I'll make sure to repost the video on Facebook. So those of you that came over from Facebook over here, you'll have the video, the YouTube video that you can click and you can watch it. Okay. And so I appreciate it. Thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you so much for being here. She said, never too busy for my family. That's what I'm talking about. But I want each one of you to have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for being here tonight. It's always an honor. And remember, I know you guys are waiting for the, my coaching, my coaching institute. I'm working on the last bits. I'm finishing up the PowerPoints for you. I'm gonna go in and pre-record, but I will be doing a webinar to sign you guys up for those of you that want to be certified coaches under my institution. And with becoming a certified coach under my institution, you will also get training from me throughout the time that you're with me. So you will always be up to par with coaching and keeping a high standard in coaching, because people are looking for quality coaches and to really understand what coaching is. And for those of you that are wanting to open up a business, the business of coaching as well. So I'm gonna give you the foundation of coaching. I'm gonna teach you how to be a coach. You can pick out your niche and perfect that and build your business. So you can build your business. And so I appreciate all of you guys for being here. I am Dr. Carmen Bryant. I'm the host of Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. You can find me on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and please join me. I appreciate you. You guys have a wonderful evening, and I hope each and every one of you have a wonderful week. You guys take care of yourself and go be great. Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody.